It's in the pack. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. There are no planned fire alarms. If the alarm should sound, please exit the building using the nearest available fire exit. Once leaving the building, please make your way to the muster point, which is located by the staff car park and is identified by a green sign positioned in the shrub bed. Please make yourself known to a member of staff before duty. This meeting is recorded, and the meeting may also be recorded and broadcast by the press and members of the public. Please see Section 8 of the Guidance for Public Participation, including recording and use of social media meetings. And as is customary, we'll just have a minute to gather our thoughts before the formal meeting begins. Thank you. Okay, it gives me great pleasure to move straight to item 1 on the agenda, and that is formally to elect the chairman, and for that chairman then to receive the declaration of acceptance of office and sign that. So, do I have a nomination for chairman?
I nominate Alex.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Clark. And do we have any other nominations for chairman? No, that's looking good. So can I have councillors' votes, please, on Alex as chairman? That's looking pretty good. So well done, and happy to hand over a little bit of space that way. That'd be good. Well done.
Thank you very much, councillors. So let's move on to elect our vice chairman. Now, I have any proposals for vice chair, please? Councillor Fairhead.
Jones, please.
Seconder, please.
Chair, I'm second it. And can I wish you congratulations to the elected?
Thank you. So I have a first proposer and a second of Councillor Vicky Joins. Do we have anyone else who wishes to be nominated for the role of vice chair? Okay, so can I have a vote please, all in favour? All against? And any abstentions? Okay, so I declare that Councillor Vicky Joins will be vice chairman for 2022 to 2023. Congratulations, Vicky.
Thank you.
So let's move on to apologies for absence.
Councillor Maisie Roberts.
Perfect, thank you very much. Now we move on to declarations of interest. Firstly, to note any declaration of interest made by members in connection with an agenda item, and members please specify the nature of the interest. Do you have any?
Chairman, just a bit of chance, as well, since we are discussing LED and Hampshire County Council is involved, do we have to declare any interest in that respect?
You can declare interest, to be on the safe side.
Okay.
Any more, ladies and gentlemen? No. Have you received any written requests for dispensation for disclosable pecuniary interest? Thank you. And lastly, do you need to grant a request for dispensation as appropriate?
I will receive none.
Perfect, thank you very much. We now move on to our community safety update. Unfortunately, Inspector Helen Andrews can't be with us tonight. She did send a very short report to all councillors earlier today. Did you all have an opportunity to read it?
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So if we move on to pages 5 to 6, on Wednesday, on page 5, a briefing from our ACSOs on issues within the parish in the last month. Again, some of these are linked to items that can report from Inspector Andrews. Do you have any comments or questions you wish to raise? No? Okay, so we'll just note that and thank the ACSOs for their hard work. A lot of good work has been going on there, particularly working with the local PCSOs. Thank you. We now move on to election to committees for the 2022-2023 year. As you can see in your list upon you, you've got each committee and the current councillors sat on that committee. So I'm going to go through each committee and go through the names, and if you wish to come off that committee, please let me know. And if you wish to go on that committee, obviously please put yourself forward. Councillor Joins and myself are ex officio, so we're on all of them. So, busy time for us. We start with the Amenities Committee, currently featuring Councillor Sandra Debonair, Gemma Lovell, Philip Dowd, Simon Lodge, Councillor Maureen McLean, myself and Malcolm Wade, and Councillor Joins will be ex officio. Does anyone wish to come off the Amenities Committee? Excellent. And is there anyone who wishes to join the committee, because I believe that makes 8 councillors with a position spare? Anyone wish to join the committee? No? Okay, thank you. We'll vote them all in block at the end. We'll then go to the Climate Emergency Committee, featuring Councillors Osborne, Malcolm Wade, Delaire, Dowd and Mark Clark alongside myself and the Vice Chair. Does anyone wish to come off this committee? And does anyone wish to join the committee? No? So it's as you were. We then go to the General Purposes and Finance Committee. Again, Councillor Vicky Joins will be joining us. Is there anyone listed there who wishes to come off the committee? Okay, and does anyone, hang on a minute, I believe that we've got 8 councillors there again, so does anyone wish to join? There is 1 place vacant. Okay, moving forward. Personnel Committee. Does anyone wish to come off this committee? I appreciate Councillor Roberts isn't with us tonight, but has she given us any views one way or another?
She's happy with what's down here, I think.
Thank you very much. Any changes on this committee? Anyone wish to stay on? Sorry, anyone wish to come off any of these committees? No? And does anyone wish to join personnel?
Yes, it's a vacancy, please.
There's currently 9 councillors on there.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's only 8.
We have ex officio Councillor Joins on personnel.
Oh, okay.
So, would we be able to accommodate councillors?
I'm quite happy to come off if the council would like to join. That's not a problem.
Okay,
Thank you, Councillor Brown.
No problem at all.
so you should vote for that now, or vote for the end. We'll vote for that at the end. And lastly, I would say that the Planning Committee, which I've had a very great pleasure of chairing this last few years, again, you'll see the names on there, and Councillor Vicky Joins will be joining us. Is anyone wishing to come off the Planning Committee? And does anyone wish to join? No? Thank you very much. The chairs and vice chairs of each committee will be elected at that meeting's first of this council year, so that's not something we're discussing today. So everything in front of you, and Vicky Joins added on to all committees, and Councillor McLean in place of Councillor Dowd for personnel. Can I have a proposer, please?
I propose.
And a seconder? And all in favour? Thank you very much, councillors. Those are the committees sorted. Oh, sorry, all against. So that's all the committees sorted for this final year of this council. Thank you.
And the working groups will be confirmed at each meeting.
Indeed, yes. And thank you very much for that, Sue. Absolutely right. So to appoint the representation for outside bodies, which is item number 7, you've got a full list in front of you. Now, again, Councillor Roberts isn't with us today, but I understand that she doesn't wish to have any changes from what's presented. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. So have you all read these, and would you like to vote in block, or would you like me to go through them one by one?
On block.
On block. Okay.
Chairman, I have a question.
Yep.
Addressed to the clerk, actually. I have the nomination for New Forest Business Partnership. They've never actually invited me to any functional meeting or anything for them. Is it possible that this council can contact them and remind them that I am our representative to it, so they can communicate with me? Thank you.
So can I have a proposer for the appointed representatives on outside bodies?
Proposed.
So,
I was just saying one, G, Hythe and Dibden Twinning Association. I'm not sure if Councillor Clark, were you coming off that?
Oh, yes, sorry, you're absolutely right. Prompts. Yes, you're absolutely right, wasn't
There's a
it?
vacancy on that.
thank
have
you.
to.
I'm glad someone's paying attention to those Councillor Clark. You're something to say for another year. So, does anyone wish to take Councillor Clark's place on Twinning Association alongside Councillor Philip down?
No.
It's a very important committee, and I know that it's been.
No.
I don't know what you can put me down for that one.
You what?
Did you want anyone else?
Okay.
All
Okay. So number R, the Ports Consultative Committee. It's the chairman of the planning committee, so I can allocate that to planning. Okay. So the one change that we're having is myself in place of Councillor Clark on Hythe and Twinning Association. Can I have a proposer? And a seconder? All in favour? All against? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. So that's proposed. Thank you. We now move on to number 8, which is to approve the standing orders and financial regulations as to the conduct of the council's business and confirm Lloyds as our bankers for the next year. So pages 7 to 68 in your agendas, ladies and gentlemen. This is a substantial part of it. Clerk, is there anything that you wish to add to this?
No, the only thing I would say is that normally going through these would be part of the general purpose and finance. However, because of the reawakening of committees and council meetings, I think it was opportune to do it now because some tweaks needed to be made in terms of updating the legislation, for example. So in your agenda packs, I've gone through in detail both of those and highlighted where any changes are necessary. So, if you've got any questions, let me know.
So do we need to highlight where you picked up your concerns, for example on page 16?
Yeah, there's not that many changes to be perfectly frank, and they're already in there in yellow, so they're quite clear actually.
Council, did we see anything that stood out that you wish to discuss further? No? So if you're happy with what's been presented in front of you this evening, may I please have someone propose that we accept the standing orders of financial regulations and confirm Lloyds as our bankers for this next financial year, straight council year. Thank you, Councillor Lloyds. Can I have a seconder, please? And all those in favour? Thank you kindly. And anyone against, please? And any abstentions? No, thank you. Now, if you move to pages 69 to 74, it will be the minutes from our previous council meeting, way back in April. Is it best Council Dan presents these? Would you like to present them? Okay. So I'm going to present these page by page. So if you have any concerns or points you wish to raise, then do please let me know, okay? So we'll start with page 69. Page 70. Page 71. Do you have a question, Councillor Bernard?
Yes, Chairman, in the minutes for the last meeting, you may recall, I raised a problem with the inspector, just to report back that she has now replied to me, and the email she sent me, it says, I've had a look at this incident you mentioned at the last council meeting and spoken to the Officer D. Unfortunately, for various reasons, it's taken a lot longer than expected. The officer will now receive the apology letter, which will be or has been emailed to initially no complaint, and a visit will be paid. The community resolution was given to the young girl, who was the person in February. So taking this long for the letter is not acceptable. Appropriate feedback has been given. That was from Ellen Andrews. And I understand that the letter supposedly sent has still not been received, but the officer dealing with it is due to see the person who suffered the problem. Is due to be seen next week.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Fairhead, thank you. So moving on, page 71. Page 72. Page 73. Thank you. So, do we all feel they're a fair reflection of April's council meeting? And can I have a proposer in that case? And a seconder, thank you. All in favour of accepting the minutes from April's meeting? Thank you. And all against? And any abstentions? No. Thank you very much. So now move on to Chairman's announcements. My first announcement is slightly embarrassing really. So I just want to say, put on my record my thanks to Councillor Philip Dowd for his service as chair over the past year. He served with thoughtfulness, dedication, attention to detail and calm consideration, and not afraid to challenge misinformation or indeed my spelling. It's been a busy and at times challenging 12 months, but he's worked incredibly hard on behalf of our residents, and I do thank him wholeheartedly. So thank you, Councillor Dowd, for your last year.
Thank you.
Ewart Ground Recreation Ground refurbishment. As you, I'm sure you are aware, the Ewart Playground refurbishment is coming together nicely, and all of the old equipment's been removed, and the contractors have made a start erecting the new equipment. At the moment, we don't have a confirmed date for the reopening of the playground, but we are looking at a provisional open date for the middle of June. Okay, that's important. Which is an incredibly quick turnaround from start to finish for a project of this size, especially considering some of the poor weather we've had and the amount of work undertaken. Hythe and Dibden's annual Community Spirit and Environmental Awards are open for nominations. If you know anyone who's made a significant contribution to our brilliant community, please nominate them, and councillors can ensure that you're sharing how to nominate to our residents. As with last year, the winners will be announced at the Hythe Activity Day in the Village Centre in August. Speaking of which, information on how to become part of Hythe Activity through a local charity, volunteer, organisation or club can be found on the Parish Council website. Platinum Jubilee. As Her Royal Majesty the Queen II celebrates an extraordinary 70 years on the throne, Hythe and Dibden will partake in their own Jubilee events. These will be arranged by local groups such as the churches and traders. St Andrew's and St John's churches are arranging Jubilee lunches, while other events for entertainment will be going on over the weekend. Furthermore, Hythe Faith makes a much welcome return on Ewart Recreation Ground on Thursday the 2nd of June. This is always a fun and popular event, and there will be a parish council stall, so my thanks to those who were able to attend and support. There will be no dunking the councillors, I'm afraid, this year. Prospect Place. Councillor Philip Dowd led a group of councillors and local residents for consultation on proposed works at Prospect Place to deal with the flooding issues. The consultation was well received, and thanks go to officers and local residents alongside those councillors for their continued work. And lastly, a call for evidence on Shore Road. The council would like to reiterate a call for evidence for any incidents or issues with dangerous speeding and parking on Shore Road. We are looking for examples where the community have witnessed dangerous parking, driving and or speeding that could have led to an accident, as we want to push the highways authorities to take some action to mitigate the serious concerns we are all aware of on this road. Sadly, there was an RTA on Shore Road in recent weeks, but we are unaware of the cause. However, residents have raised issues on Shore Road with various councillors and want to see action taken. Thank you. We now move on to reports by county and district members. Have we received a report from Councillor McAvoy?
No.
Okay. County Council Wade, floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. This week we attended the annual meeting of the County Council. We have a new chairman, Councillor Harvey. We also have a new leader of the council, one Councillor Harvey, the previous deputy leader, and somewhat predictable. The new deputy leader was Councillor Chad, who was also the executive member of Children's Services. At the same time, there was a change around of cabinet members. There will be new members to deal with in regard to flooding issues, which looked like it would be Councillor Edward Heavy, well known to district members as the current leader of Edward DC. A £250 million allocated to invest in community energy projects to meet Hampshire's climate crisis targets, including possibly one in New Forest at Brockenhurst. £250,000 fund will invest in the community energy, with any returns on investment dedicated to recharging the revolving community energy funds, RCEF, to ensure sustainable and long-term funding. Currently, renewable energy generated in Hampshire is extremely low. Less than 3% of the county's needs are created by renewable energy sources. Not only will this generate an income stream for the county council, will also help meet the climate target of carbon neutrality by 2050. The investment will benefit 5 major projects across Hampshire. As regard roadworks, and this is a really local, Hampshire's County Council's Operation Resilience, which repairs our roads, different to modification work, such as the work on the A326 roundabouts. They always advise with a caveat, due to weather or operational conditions, the time frame might change, such as Beverley Road in Bursash, for example, which has been delayed weeks from the original start date. However, we advise the work is going to be done, but we are not advised that the work, we are not advised of the work of the utility companies. Beyond the sign, if we're lucky, and a lot of that is going on in our community at present. There is a website called One.Network, which anyone can look at to find out about the utility roadworks. And show on the basis of the top of that report, as you are all aware, members are aware, there have been many complaints about the parking in Shore Road. And I have been onto the county council before, who said basically, well, it's not against the law, you know, it is what it is. But there was an accident, not that stretch, but on Shore Road just recently. So I'm minded to have another go at the county council parking department, because the county council is now responsible for on-street parking. I sent them a photograph that I personally had taken of a lorry obstructing the road by all parked cars. And I've had many other complaints. Well, the county have come back to me now, obviously have a think about it, and basically, without reading all of this out to you, whilst we focus on our safety-led programme, we can also consider new and amended parking restrictions so there's full cost recovery, or those that impact a large proportion of residents, especially locations where we receive multiple requests from road users and residents. Today, we're a parking team to consider a full review of the situation, helpful for more evidence to support this change, for example, by more members of the public and possibly adjacent businesses to show their support the instruction restrictions. If this could be sent to parking.services@hants.gov.uk. And I've received an email from one such business with pictures that I have forwarded on to this organisation, plus the chap who's in charge of it. And before I finish, Jim, one of the other things that's come to my attention is that the cars are parked there because the boat company in the old US base has shut its car park, forcing all the workers to park on the road. Would this council consider writing to the boat companies there, requesting that they reopen their car park to eliminate the potentially dangerous parking situation that they're put on Shore Road? That might help, actually, if we could do that, because perhaps I don't know why they wouldn't, but perhaps the people in those companies don't realise the problems they're caused by that. I will continue to forward to the parking services, and I would encourage any other members of the council, indeed members of the public, to do the same about this. But if we could write to the boat companies, it might be a quick win to get those cars back in the car. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wade. Can you share that email that you've received with other councillors? If there's a way of the public contacting parking services, we can put that on our social media.
I'll forward it to the council members.
Thank you. Would you like to bring that to, is the chairman aware, or later on with regards to writing to the
I think there's two things. If you can share the parking services email with me, we can actually get it out there and get as many members of the public as possible to send emails in. If they want to be bombarded with complaints, I'm sure we can arrange that. And the other thing is, if you can let me know who we need to write to in the marina itself.
I don't know whoever the companies are.
We can investigate that, that's fine. We can investigate that and definitely write to them.
Chairman, the clerk and the officers are probably just as in a better position to investigate who is in there than I am.
That's why I said we.
Oh, good.
Yes, I think all councillors agree that they're happy to write to them, are we? Thank you.
No, I'll investigate.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll say that to you.
Now we move on to district members. We're going to go alphabetically. Councillor Clark.
No, nothing to report.
Okay. Councillor Cullen.
No, I'm sure other councillors will give a more eloquent report than I could.
Not at all, Councillor Cullen. So, Councillor Delamere.
Nothing short of report, Chairman.
Okay. Councillor Philip Dowd.
Yes, on the 20th of May, Councillor Malcolm Wade and I attended the District Council's Waste Strategy Task and Finish Group. This was mainly to give final feedback on the policy documentation and the first of the publicity documents, a booklet entitled Our Plans to Improve Recycling and Reduce Waste. Copies will be distributed to town and parish councils and information officers, among other venues, although there is still some ambiguity around the government requirements. 3 Hythe and Dibden councillors will be representing the area on the Housing and Homelessness Overview and Scrutiny Panel after it was confirmed in the District Council meeting on the 16th of May that I will be joining Councillors Cullen and Alex Wade. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dowd. Moving on to Councillor Osborne.
No, just attended the meetings, but nothing really to report.
Okay, thank you very much. Just for simplicity, we'll go to Councillor Malcolm Wade for his district report, please.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I attended the planning committee this month. One local item, a garage at 1 Malwood Road. The plans to build the garage in front of the building line, but it was interpretive officers that could be accepted. I voted against it for building line reason, but it was passed. Another item was the Bransfield Derrick Lane development, which after considerable debate was passed after the actions by the developer to assist local infrastructure were accepted. I attended the cabinet meeting this month and a number of points on the item of reshaping the top as part of LLP1 policy site strategy, and challenged why only communities with town in the name were included in this, as Hythe and Dibden is the second highest population centre in the district, and when was that going to be supported the same? The Chief Planning Officer confirmed they will be supporting Hythe as part of the development on the Waterside. There's an item on the new election range for 2023 which not only include the new boundary changes affecting district and parish boundaries, but also the government's new election rules requiring photo ID and change in postal voting, etc. The key is that FDC provide clear and appropriate information to the public on not only where they vote, but what they need to do to be able to do so. Finally, in the financial monitoring section of the same cabinet meeting, there was as the same morning that a government minister said on television, people in trouble due to the cost of living should go to their local council's hardship fund. So I asked the cabinet member responsible for finance of the district how much money we had in our fund. Well, he didn't know. And it took the chief finance officer to answer the question. And that was a very partial answer. This out-of-touch attitude is why I'm going to put a motion to the annual council meeting to set up a task and finish group to look into the details of social deprivation in our district, so we know the extent of the problem and so we can better target resource and help those that need it. It was better the way to the future cabinet meeting when I was a member to speak for it. It's an important fact that in the New Forest there are 3 sites of social deprivation. One of them is in this parish. Right. And yet the statistics of this site area are in the top 10 criteria for social deprivation. Because we are basically a relatively well-off district compared to other parts of the country, pockets of deprivation do not get the same attention that they do in areas where deprivation is more widespread. So it is our challenge to wake up the district council to make sure it delivers to help those people as it should be. At the same meeting, elected Amherst Southern, the council meets AGM the council, elected Amherst Southern Church Council, and I also attended the waste strategy meeting for council. Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you. Finally, myself. Okay, I'm going to now point out the bits that have already been said. As Councillor Dowd says, in the final year I will be on Housing and Homelessness panel alongside Councillors Cullen and Dowd. I'll also be remaining on the Community Overview Leisure and Scrutiny panel, which is a panel I've been on for this whole council period. As I say, I was also disappointed the council didn't immediately debate the motion and supporting our residents going through challenging times, but it will come back for debate after going through Cabinet. Again, as has been already stated, NFDC will start working on the upcoming changes that will also help some of our district residents vote in the New Forest ahead of 2023's local elections. There are to be parish and district ward boundary changes, with the council reducing to 48 councillors and all new electoral wards, 26 I believe. Residents may see a change in the allocated polling station and allocated ward. NFDC are responding to the elections bill, which has gone through Parliament, and as Councillor Wade says, with regards to a form of photo ID required for polling stations, 98% of residents have been estimated to already have this, and work will be undertaken to support those who currently do not. And most importantly, to promote the equality with all of the electorate as well. There will be council voter IDs available later this year, and it is so important that councillors and the council continue to ensure this information is shared as much as possible ahead of the next district and parish elections in 2023. Dibden Golf Centre, a report will be going to Cabinet to receive a report on the ongoing work that the Task and Finish Group I'm on has been undertaking and working on the relationship with My Time moving forward. The waste management strategy, as already stated, will be able to be viewed by the public on the 8th of June and will go to Cabinet on the 16th, and then to July's full council meeting for discussion. The Environment Scrutiny Panel will be discussing this also. This will involve a significant change in how waste is collected in the district and how the authority intends to improve its recycling rates. And as with most councils, it's been quite a busy month for casework, cutting back verges, trees, road safety, fly tipping, overgrown bushes and play areas among issues raised. Thank you. Do you have any reports from members serving on outside bodies? Okay, so let's start with Councillor Delano and work our way around.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Councillors Lodge and Cullen and myself were at the Dibden Allotment Fund meeting this morning, and amongst other things, there was a very interesting presentation from Solent Mind Heads Up project, which goes into primary schools along the Waterslide, and it's basically about skills for the children to use for mental health resilience, and this is from reception classes right up to year 6 before they go into secondary school. And as a retired mental health nurse, I really welcome this. The sorts of things they're doing are absolutely excellent, and I was really encouraged. But it's something that we've got in this area, but elsewhere it's not so likely. It's very patchy, but it's excellent. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Matt. That was really interesting. Councillor Osborne, I believe you're next.
Thank you. Councillor Fairhead and myself, we visited Honey Pot, which we both support. I think it's such an excellent place with something that I donated my community funds was to buy some fruit trees, and we actually went to visit them, and they were all in flower, ready to really produce something for the next lot of children that attend there. Just alongside that, I attended the Waterside Heritage Centre AGM, and the speaker was for Honey Pot, and they really want us as a council to raise awareness of their existence and the need for support, because it doesn't get any government or council funding. The other thing was that we have put in our Hythe here that we're going to set up a water CAN, which is Waterside Climate Action Network. And I just wanted to say that Philip and I were pleased to get this going as a community group. And in fact, I've heard from about 3 people already that say they're going to attend on the 20th of July, my next Climate Emergency Committee meeting. So that will be something that I'm hoping to get set up and hand things more over to the public. So that's it actually from that. Thank you.
Thank you, Seth. Just moving forward, if the final point, if it comes from Hythe here and information makes climate notice, that would come in, is the chairman aware, as opposed to outside bodies, okay?
What?
Moving forward.
What?
So anything such as your final point, that will be better under is the chairman aware, and then we can bring those up in questions, okay? Because
I don't know what you mean. Tell me later.
it isn't outside
I've done
bodies.
it wrong.
Councillor Philip Dowd, please.
Yes, reporting on the 12th of May, I attended the meeting at the Jubilee Hall in Forley, where the writer David Lane and members of the Forest Forge team gave a presentation of work in progress of the young play to be called Stacked. This is the result of the conversations with Waterslide residents and research around the power station. The idea is to produce a touring production to visit communities in the Waterside and wider forest area. It's a very, very interesting project. So I'm hoping that's going to get wide publicity when it happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else up there? Or Councillor Fairhead?
Thank you, Chairman. HBHA, the second carriage is progressing well. The glass board arrived yesterday, so we'll soon be putting that together. The temporary platform has been erected on the pier, which is now in use. The reason for the temporary platform is that the start of the track going into the workshop and the points and what goes to the platform will soon be replaced because what's there is getting worn out. It's not dangerous by any means, but it's getting worn. Need to replace it and starting at that end. So the platform is in place. As soon as we get the second carriage finished and out, and the one that broke down the other day in, then all that roll line can come up and the progress can go on with replacing the track. And everything's moving on well. There's no safety issue about it at all. It is purely ongoing preventive maintenance. There should be, in I think today's Echo, a report, and it's all been publicised everywhere, so we don't get Chinese whispers and gossip going about it. Thank you, Chairman.
That was Hythe Heritage Association. You went for your pseudonyms. That brings a close to outside bodies. Anyone else have anything they wish to raise? No, thank you very much. We now move on to the public forum. Firstly, do we have any written questions submitted by electors attending the meeting? Fantastic. So now let's get electors who come to visit us to speak to the meeting. Mr. Twyder, the floor is yours, sir.
Is this on? Is that?
It should be on.
Yeah. Okay. I take this will be on YouTube tomorrow.
Is it that quick?
Yeah.
They're recorded live.
I'd imagine this week. You can pick the microphone up if you like.
No, it's okay. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Alex for being voted as chairman, and also Vicky as vice chair. I'm sure you'll do a good job. And so I don't want a confrontation here. I know we've had confrontations in the past, but I think we're more or less at the end of the road now, trying to have communication with the parish council. We've really hit a brick wall. I'm not against the councillors. In fact, I've got respect for Malcolm, because he tried very hard in an informed basis to get some sort of compromise or whatever. I thank Alan for him in his support, and he's one of the few councillors that have actually come down to see the gardens in Ballydean, which is disappointing that other councillors haven't come to have a look. I think Stephanie came a long time ago. And also for Gemma, as a fairly recent councillor, taking an interest and trying to look at everything refreshing way, because I think all the councillors have had a closed mindset. You hear what we're saying, but you don't listen, unfortunately. Now, I've sent God knows how many emails to you. I sent you an email, I think it was the day before the last parish council meeting, last April, and I enclose our response to the speechless solicitor's response to our questions. Now, our counter arguments, which are in red, But I sent it to all the councillors. I presume you all got it. Because quite honestly, I wonder if you actually open the emails I send or actually read the contents. That's what I find frustrating. Now, I did request you at the last meeting last April to go through all this, discuss it, and respond to me. But looking at the minutes from the last month's meeting, I don't think you did. So I'll have one last stab at this, because we can't go on like this. It's 6 years next month. I know a lot of you, I've heard things that come back to me that some councillors have said they're fed up talking about Valley Dean. But think of us. We have to put up with this day after day after day. I mean, I'm sure at the weekends you're enjoying your gardens and probably don't give Valley Dean any thought whatsoever. But we've got it every day and we've had it for 6 years. And the aggravation that has caused us and our mental health, I can't emphasise the impact it's had on people's lives. But I'm going to have one more go at this. This response I sent you, my question is, are you going to come back with your response on this? On here, there's 18 points that we've made, but we would like you to come back on those, please. Will you do it or won't you? That's my question.
As you know, we have Valley Dean, as I say, in private session on the agenda today. And again, this will no doubt come up again alongside the other points you would have seen in the agenda because you brought it to public session. I can't speak, I think we will need the council to discuss what you've asked of us today in private session and decide what is the appropriate course of action. What I would say is that any councillor who said that no councillor should say they're fed up of talking about it, because until it's resolved for the residents, it's our job to talk about it and be engaged by it. I'll be honest with you, you may not believe it, but I do think of Valley Dean outside of meetings and at weekends. I think of it in my garden when I'm currently fixing my broken decking, because I'm very fortunate to be able to play in my garden with my 5-year-old, so similar age to your grandchildren. And it's that pertinent point that your wife has made to me previously that has made me realise this has gone on too far. Your neighbours who haven't been able to sell their houses, your neighbours who've not been well. We all are aware of that, and if you ever get the impression that we don't understand that and appreciate that point, then I am sorry, because we do genuinely care. And I completely understand the frustration by this, but we're not fed up of talking about it. I think it's just wanting to have a resolution, because it's 6 years. I thought it was, is it longer? It's you know,
it's 6 years.
Yeah.
Well, the issue started in 2009. The flooding was in 2018. Effectively, we've been ignored for the most part from 2009 until Hampshire County Council became involved in 2018, when the properties at 75 and 77 Highlands Lane were flooded. So yes, it's a long time, and everybody has had enough.
Are you going to add something to this? Because obviously we have to sit private session later, Councillor Wade, and can you be brief?
I just want to say something about. I appreciate exactly the situation that you're in. This is a problem this council gained from the previous council. It wasn't this council being on, you have to remember that. And I think every member understands that the problem is the people, it's about people, yourselves and the other residents, and the situation they're put in, what you. And we are committed to fixing this. It hasn't helped, the pandemic didn't help the situation, because that did put a delay in. And there have been other factors. But please do not think that this council are unsensitive or uncaring about the situation we're in, because we're not. We are caring. And we do want to fix it. But it is a very complicated thing that we're going through. And I am optimistic that hopefully we'll be able to move forward quicker perhaps than we think. Hopefully.
I think the frustrating thing is it's not that complex. The argument is the boundary and if it's a natural watercourse or not. The boundary issue, I don't think you're ever going to resolve that. Because we've had 3 surveys now. We've had the first survey saying that all the pipes on the parish council land. We had a second survey saying, oh, most of it's on the parish council land, but there's a little bit here and there that's on your land. Vicky's done some measurements. I don't know the results of that. But whatever the results are, those surveys are a generalisation of where the boundaries are. It's not defined. So we're going to argue about this till the cows come home. And the only way we can resolve this is through litigation. I can't see any other way of resolving the boundary issue. And as for the watercourse, we know it's not a natural watercourse. And even David Haynes' speeches admitted he didn't know where the source of the watercourse was. You can go back on historical maps. We've gone back on maps since 1860. It doesn't show a watercourse, but you can find a map earlier than that shows it. So, you know. So, I mean, it's simple things. Boundary, is it a natural watercourse or not a natural watercourse? The other thing is, I don't understand, you're only going to repair the pipe. You're not replacing it. Now, the damage is on parish council land, undisputed parish council land. So why don't you repair it? I just do not understand why you don't go ahead and repair it. But this is the frustrations that we're going through.
No, absolutely, you're right to come here and air this, Mr. Friedel. I would say, as I say, because obviously it's in private agenda, and particularly point C among the agenda about considering the way forward as a council, this is going to be discussed. And again, because you've come and spoken to us in this meeting, it's going to be clearly fresh in memory. All councillors are going to want to discuss this in detail. I'm probably not going to be able to give you here in public session any direct answers that you want now.
No, I mean, this response we're expecting from you. I don't expect you to be able to answer that, to be honest. I think you need to get legal advice. I know every time I read the minutes of the meeting, you decide not to take any further legal advice, but I think you'll have to answer those points that we made in our response. I mean, your legal advice, as far as I understand it, finished on the 25th of August last year at that meeting. So you spent a fortune so far. I estimate about £24,000 on taking legal advice. That is it, don't worry. In all, you've spent about £50,000 on a lot of pointless exercises, to be honest. But anyway, so will I get a response on our points or not?
Well, councillors are going to have to
have a discussion.
We're going to have to discuss about this point. You brought it to us and raise the issue. I obviously you have written to us as you will receive the letters, and I would imagine the majority of councillors. But as I say, I think every council reads every one of your emails, and I do not want you to feel that you don't. I can tell you that every one of your communications to me gets read in detail, but obviously due to the nature of the issue at hand, we can't have individual councillors always necessarily responding. There has to be collective discussion on those points. But absolutely, I was open, and we will certainly be discussing this.
We need to get somewhere, because we can't carry on year after year after year in this situation. We just cannot. So we can't mess about any longer, to be honest. We need a resolution, we really do. Thank you.
No, thank you. Does anyone else wish to? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Again, I'd like to start by thanking all the members of the Parish Council for their involvement with this ongoing difficulty. I in particular would like to thank both Malcolm, Alex and Vicky for everything that you've been doing, and Alan, your input as well. But I think we're in a situation now, the reason I come tonight is at the last Parish Council meeting, you were talking about spending over £7,000 on Harris fencing. Why? There's nothing wrong with what's there, except that it's still there and this situation still hasn't been resolved. You don't need any new Harris fencing. What we need is the pipe fixed. And what I'm saying is, I have again talked to my contacts. For the cost you propose for Harris fencing, £7,000, they can probably fix 15 and 16. But that leaves Hampshire County Council to pay for the problem under the road, and whoever it's going to be argued about from the road down to the main road. There's no need to spend more money. I mean, that's £7,000 on Harris fencing that would have fixed the pipes. Then there's all the legal fees. And this is where I have a reservation, that when it comes to boundaries, when it comes to responsibilities, we're excluded from the meeting. Now, I've no doubt that, as it's defined in Part 1 of Schedule 12 of the Local Government Act 1972, you're entitled to throw the press and the public out, but it doesn't half get my back up, because I feel I'm being kept out of the loop. I'm not being given the full picture. And on my particular property, there's no argument where the pipe is. It's under my land. I have, if you're going to go the riparian route, a riparian responsibility. There's nothing wrong with the pipe under my land, so if it ain't broke, we don't have to fix it. There's only one identified on all the survey. There's only 2 properties, 15 and 16, where they've identified damaged pipe. That could have been fixed for less than you're proposing to spend on more fencing that's not needed. What is needed in the meantime is for property 75, which suffered the worst flood damage, to be properly protected. We're still using temporary sandbags, which you're proposing to replace because they've all gone rotten, but nobody has dismantled the grid over the top. Nobody has cleared the vegetation out of the emergency storm channel, and nobody has checked that the size of the sidewall of the inspection pit has been opened enough to take the volume of flood water that caused all the damage in 2018, to the extent that Mr. Perry and I are clearly taking into consideration to do our own storm protection work in my garden. I've got a situation today where I've been having my garden wall repaired down the side of Highlands Way. I can't have the inner piece repaired. It is so dangerous from the flooding. It's wobbling, so it's got to come down tomorrow for the safety of my grandchildren in my garden and the parish council workers, if they ever turn up and go and actually do some maintenance on the storm drain channel behind the hedge fencing on the edge of Highland Way. I know they've trimmed round the edges to make it look pretty. They have not touched the storm channel and the guards over it since 2018. That's a fact. And finally, I express very great sympathies with David here, and because of issues on the property, we decided to keep this as out of the public scenario as much as we could. But now it's gone on since 2009, every estate agent in the area knows about it. So if there's going to be a continuation of stalling, then you might find that your electoral support backs off. Because if we go public about how long this is taking to sort, and it's just been buck passing, I'm sorry, but it is. And the main instigator, Malcolm, is Hampshire County Council, because they suddenly realised how big the bill was going to be when they came out with the storm team that they've been prevaricating ever since. that yes, they fixed it initially, they put the machinery up, your previous clerk, and I have utmost respect for your current clerk, I have no respect for Mrs. Bennett. What she was doing was illegal. My hand-built rear property fence line along the edge of the footpath, number one is still holding up the footpath, and that's a wooden fence that holds up that footpath, and number two, it was screw built, and under Mrs. Bennett's direct instructions a hole was torn in that because she said they required legal access having revoked the lease. The day after they tore the hole in the fence, they tied a Harris fence to it to block it up. I still can't let my dogs out in that part of the garden because otherwise they get straight out. Harris fencing doesn't keep terriers in. And so they destroyed a recently built fence under the direct instructions of the previous clerk. So you can understand the frustration we've got that 4 years later she's still relying on that one. And a final comment, I've been asked to point out from Mr. Perry that as a result of the flooding, he had to make an insurance claim. The sole reason why the parish council haven't been taken to court by his insurers is it wasn't cost effective to do so given the size of his claim. But they've made perfectly clear to him that given the report Mrs. Bennett made at the time, if it floods again, they will be looking for somebody to sue. And, I mean, a lot of this is not news to you, particularly Malcolm and Alex. Vicky, you might not know this before, but the whole issue is the only time they didn't take legal action against parish council insurers last time was for 13 grand. It wasn't worth it. But if his house is flooded again, they will be going for the 13 grand, any further damage plus loss of property value because the property is now considered a flood risk. To be quite frank, this whole delay is because Southern Water and Hampshire County Council are playing juggling acts between them. Neither of them will accept responsibility. And to be quite frank, to see some of the quotes we got from Hampshire County Council are possibly frightening. When I talk to my groundwork specialist and the actual damage, 15 to 16, is less than £10,000. Thank you.
I'm just going to try and come back on, at least answer some of the points. Firstly, with regard to the Harris fencing, my understanding, I stand to be corrected, is that we aren't, as you see in the meeting, again agreed to spend 7,000 on Harris fencing.
I've read the clause that you've done, and I understand where you're coming from, but my question was, why on earth is it coming up in the first place? There is nothing wrong with the existing Harris fencing. If somebody got their finger out and got this sorted, it wouldn't even be needed.
On the storm, when we're going in on doing the cutting back and the work, it is the area that Mr. Hythe refers to, Sean, is that, you know, is that area that we are looking to cut back as part of the work, and what's proposed by amenities today.
I don't think so, Chairman, but I'll speak with Marcus.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman, sorry Alex, can I just mention, sure, thank you for the routine maintenance that's been done on that area. I know it's Eurostream, I've got no issue with that. My issue is that the sandbags were put round to create a catchment, and there was a channel that went into it. And that particular channel hasn't been touched by your guys since the first set of sandbags went in. So it's totally overgrown. It's got reeds in there, it's got bubblers in there, it's got brambles in there, and it's just not going to work.
Thanks for that. I'll speak to the maintenance group.
Okay.
Another thing to be aware of, it was obviously the blockage was cleared in October 2018. But the big root you got out at that time was from the willow tree. And that willow tree, we've got stumps there obviously, but there's shoots coming out of the old willow tree. So if the roots get into Marcus broke into the pipe, if you remember, to try and divert the water around the blockage.
Yeah.
So that's more or less opposite where the old willow tree was.
I don't think that was ever determined, Mr. Twide, that it come from the willow tree.
It did.
No, I don't think it was determined. I don't recall it being determined.
Okay, well,
Well, anyway, we all know how bad willows are for getting into pipes. Also, you've got buddleia coming down behind me where it's completely excavated all the way along the whole width. There's buddleia plants coming up,
Yeah.
and obviously.
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So you need to put something down there. It's 4 years, so we don't want another flood. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To come back on, as I say, a few more,
Chairman, and Hampshire County Council has mentioned a lot. I just want to say one thing. They are partly on mine systems, but also by their own volition. They are really pushing Southern Water hard to try and resolve the very situation that has been mentioned. You know, it has gone on for too long, and we've been pushing them to resolve it.
Thank you, Malcolm. Much appreciated. Could I just make a quick comment?
if it's brief, because we have got
very,
very
very
long
brief.
participation.
The garden wall at the end of my garden,
Mm.
which defines my boundary, the end section has been declared unsafe. I'm having to demolish it tomorrow to protect anybody that goes into that area, children or grandchildren in the garden. This is an ideal opportunity because you will then have an 8-foot wide access gap across my land to follow the pipe course up after the excavations were done last time and fix the pipe. You could run a mini digger straight away through there with a fortnight's notice. I can get the necessary plants out of the way and we could get this sorted once and for all. And then you can claim the money back off some water if they finally admit liability.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nutley.
Thank you, and thank you for your time, and thank you for your patience this evening. It's very much appreciated.
Okay, now we move on to questions. The councillors take brief questions from fellow councillors.
Sorry, Councillor, before we
Yeah.
move on, we've got another letter that's up here.
I'm sorry, but you asked, Mr. Harrison, did you have your hand up?
No, I did not on this occasion. Carry on.
No, sorry, my sincere apologies, because normally you come to me first, don't you? So, my sincere apologies. There's nothing you wish to raise this evening?
Sorry? I think-
No, sorry, there's nothing you wish to raise this evening?
No, I've been entertaining. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Any questions from councillors to other councillors? Okay, so there's a few, you put your hand up.
Nice to see you.
So let's start with councillor now.
Yes, is the chairman aware that, as requested by council, I wrote to the Police and Crime Commissioner on the 3rd of May about her comments on the Hythe Police Station site, and to date we have not had a reply.
That's very disappointing. 3rd of May. Sorry. So I need to make sure I can hear the councillors. So we've not had a reply. Is it worth sending it a chaser letter, or should we be a bit more patient?
I think they should possibly, and we'll direct to resend the letter maybe.
Thank you. Councillor Fairhead.
Chairman, you mentioned earlier about the Jubilee celebrations. Are you or anyone else aware whether, as a council, we can have beacon lighting to celebrate like other areas of the country?
My understanding is that we're not doing vegan lighting in this area. Is there anyone who can contradict me?
What I would say that this parish council is not aware that there's anything else going on.
Okay.
There was an early request about it, and it wasn't followed up.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
I'm going to go to Councillor Mark Clark, because he hasn't had as much opportunity to speak as Councillor McAvoy this evening.
Just is the chairman aware that there was a level of interest about pursuing the railway development and the opening of the railway network. Rail, as you might remember, were teed up with an announcement about the car park, about the station car park, and then that was pulled at the last moment, literally at the last moment, by the Department for Transport. I then wrote to the Minister, Wendy Morton, who's the Minister of State for Transport, about why that was pulled. And she kindly wrote back to me, which I'd just like to share the particular thing, and I'll pass it over to Claire to provide you for the minutes as well. There's a number of fluff at the start, but it just says that the scheme will be assessed. This is against the Restoring Your Railway policy, and she understands that it was only the outline business case that Hampshire County Council brought forward, and they look forward to receiving the full business case. So it might suggest that the railway might fall victim to other potential public accounts cuts or something, we just don't know. But it seems that there is a difference of opinion between Network Rail and the Department for Transport, which isn't a surprise at all. But anyway, I'd like to just give the officers the letter, so you've got it for perhaps for the minutes as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Councillor. I do appreciate your hard work on that. I mean, it's not been a good week for rail services all over the country at the moment, but I do know that your perseverance on that. Thank you. Councillor Malcolm, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'm aware of a recent report onto the cost of living in the forest identified a major disparity in the price of shopping at Tesco stores. A basket of shopping bought in Tesco's in Milton cost £16.27. The exact same basket of shopping bought at Tesco's Dibden cost £21.37. In a period of increasing cost of living issues, could we not write to Tesco's on behalf of the residents of Hythe and Dibden requesting that they revise their plans? I suppose all their interest would be what we use Tesco, revise their costings at the Dibden store to more reflect other areas of the forest, because we have areas of social deprivation in our parish, and we also have people who are living on the edge because of the increase in fuel costs, energy costs. Can we not write to the Tesco management and request that parity with the Milton store?
Was that a like-for-like Tesco's, by the way?
Yeah, like-for-like.
Like-for-like.
It costs 38 quid in Brockton.
I know, because I read the same report that you did, and there was an extraordinary disparity. That wasn't the most significant disparity. I'm happy to write to them, I mean, I love it.
We want to do that.
And I do think it is quite concerning with the same products in the same area, and particularly areas of deprivation in our community, having to pay £5 more, it's £5 too much. I do support that, but it will be up to the rest of the council to think this would be a wise move or not.
Can I suggest that if you are writing with that, you need to establish proof?
Yes.
And demonstrate the proof, because it's coming from a council.
Yep. Make that as we'll discuss that later. You all okay with that? Councillor Malcolm's suggestion?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, I have a question to the county councillor. Can I ask the county councillor, please, to write to Highways and ask when Langdown and Netley Estates will be considered as part of the highway improvements, as they appear to be left off quite a long list that has even included Golden Hind, which I'm quite surprised at, although I live off that road. It's certainly not a priority in my view, and why areas like Langdown Estate and the Netley Estate have been ignored, and if they're going to be considered for future works, please.
I'm happy to do that. Can you be more specific on the exact roads?
I can write to you outside of this.
Yeah, if you give me the exact roads, I can go back and ask them when Operation Resilience will be doing.
Langdown Road to start. But okay, thank you. Councillor Osborne, you have your hand up.
At the last meeting, I asked the chairman, was he aware that Councillor Lovell and I were looking into provision for the younger children of the age of 2 to 6 with cycle riding. I've actually had a response from Marcus, the maintenance supervisor, who tells me that the area for the skate park the old skate park, is actually being used for this. So I thought we could perhaps publicise that people can meet there. And Councillor Lovell and I are hoping to meet with Andy Truss to discuss perhaps bringing in something to the area for balanceability if we can find the right funds.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Councillor Lovell, Councillor Osborne. That's brilliant. And again, if we can publicise that, we've got councils as well. That's what social media is for, publicising good stuff like this. So yes, thank you very much. I'm sure that covers. Just very quickly, I just want to say, am I aware? I've noticed that the work on Upper Mullinsay roundabout, they've replanted and it looks stunning. So if you could pass that on to the maintenance team. Thank you.
It's very good.
Is there anyone else wish to raise anything on this matter? Okay, thank you very much. We're now going to move on to accounts. So there are 4 issues here, we aren't going to vote on them. A is to receive the annual internal audit report and consider any recommendations. B is to receive the annual accounts ending year 31st of March 2022, and there's a government statement there too. To approve the annual accounts for the year ended 31st of March 2022 with the annual accounting statement section 2, and last but not least, to agree the exercise of public rights date from Monday the 13th of June to Friday the 22nd of July, which is for members of the public to view our accounts. That's correct. So, would you like to lead on this, Sue?
And 15A, the auditor, in a nutshell, was very impressed with the council, and he was very, very happy. And it's always a good place to have a very happy auditor. So he's impressed. So well done to the council, really, for a good set of accounts. That's what I would say on that one.
Am I right in thinking I have to read out page 79 as part of the annual governance statement?
On 15B, the annual governance statement, section 1, we have sections 1 to 9. And because this meeting is being recorded and we take the full file of the external auditor, I'm afraid you need to read each section and the council needs to agree, yes, it complies.
Okay, so I'm going to read these now, and I apologise for the boring tone of my voice when I read these factors, but you do need to do this, as I say, as Sue said. So, if we all go to page 79 in your agenda, so you know what we're looking at. Are we all ready? Yeah. So we have to agree on these. So point number 1, we have put in place arrangements for effective financial management during the year and for the preparation of the accounting statements.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Do you all agree? Yes. Okay, thank you. Number 2, we maintained an adequate system of internal control, including measures designed to prevent and detect fraud and corruption, and reviewed its effectiveness.
Agreed.
Agree?
Agreed.
Agreed.
We took all reasonable steps to assure ourselves that there were no matters of actual or potential non-compliance with laws, regulations and proper practices that could have a significant financial effect on the ability of this authority to conduct its business or manage its finance.
Agreed.
Thank you. Number 4, we provided proper opportunity during the year for the exercise of electors' rights in accordance with the requirements of the accounts and audit regulations.
Agreed.
Number 5, we carried out an assessment of the risks facing the authority and took appropriate steps to manage those risks, including the introduction of internal controls and/or external insurance cover where required.
Agreed.
Thank you. Number 6, we maintained throughout the year an adequate and effective system of internal audit of the accounting records and control systems.
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Number 7. We took appropriate action on all matters raised in reports from internal and external audit.
Agreed.
Thank you. Number 8, we considered whether any litigation, liabilities or commitments, events or transactions occurring either during or after the year end have a financial impact on this authority, and where appropriate have included them in the accounting statements.
Agreed.
Thank you. And last but not least, for local councils only, trust funds, including charitable. In our capacity as the sole managing trustee, we discharged our accountability responsibilities for the funds / assets, including financial reporting and, if required, independent examination or audit.
Yeah.
Agreed. Thank you. Is there anything further that you've got?
We need to sign them.
Thank you very much. So, thank you, councillors.
And C.
C. So to approve the annual accounts ending year 31st and 3rd, do I have to read through that as well?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
You don't have to read it, but those are in the pack anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Council needs to vote. Can you actually vote on the previous one? So we have a separate minute reference, and this one, so we have a separate minute reference.
Of course.
It's a bit pedantic, I know.
That's fine. So on what we've just agreed and discussed, can I have a vote, please, that we agree with the annual government statement, all the points raised, yes, and we've met the requirements? So, all in, can I have a proposer and a seconder? All in favour? All against? Abstain? I was in favour, as well. I've just got to keep an eye on who votes. So page 81 is the accounting statements for the financial year 21-2022. Year is flying by.
They've all been audited, they're all fine.
Thank you. So if you have a look, can I have a proposer and a seconder to accept this, please? Thank you, Councillor Joynes, and a seconder, Councillor Fairhead. All in favour of accepting these? Thank you. All against? And abstain. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to item number 4.
D, you need 15.
Or D.
We need to approve the dates for the exercise.
I said 4 instead of D because it's the
Okay,
fourth
sorry.
one, that's fine. To agree the exercise of public rights dates, which are Monday 13th of June to Friday the 22nd of July, which is about 6 weeks, which is where for the public to come in and look at our accounts, and that will be in parish offices, is that correct?
It's stated on the form.
Perfect.
The notice is posted on various places plus the website.
Thank you. So, are we all in favour of this?
Opposed?
Yeah. All in favour?
Yeah.
Anyone against? Any abstentions? No, so that is carried. Thank you. We now move on to number 16, which is the Amenities Committee. There are some recommendations in here, and I will pass over, leading the discussion to the Chair of Amenities, Councillor Delamain.
Yeah, excuse me, Chairman, while I find
No problem.
right here.
Safe space vote.
Right, yes, the Amenities Committee, following recommendations were made, concerning the Dean budget. Replacing the sandbanks, including allowance for manpower, £852. Manpower costs for up to two times cutting back a strip that's 2 metres wide and vegetation growing beside the terrace fence. That's £520, and the replacement of the terrace fencing is to be deferred until after the first brush cutting is completed and to await a further report. So, do I propose that we accept these recommendations and ask for a second?
Well, are there any discussions first and foremostly on these? Is there anything we need to add on at all?
No. No recommendation.
Okay, so can I have a proposer, please? Thank you, Councillor Lovell, and a seconder. Councillor Malcolm Wade, or Councillor Faye. So all those in favour? So these are replacement of sandbags, including allowance for manpower, and manpower costs for up to 2, plus cutting back a strip of up to 2 metres wide of vegetation growing up beside the Harris fencing. A total of £1,372. All those in favour? All those against? And any abstentions, please? Thank you. And again, as noted in the minutes, the replacement Harris fencing at Hiding site is deferred until after the first brush of cutting of the vegetation to allow a subsequent inspection, and a further report will be presented via Amenities first. Isn't that right, Sean?
That's correct, Chairman.
Thank you. We now move on to number 17, which is the Finance, pages 83 to 92.
Mr. Chairman, I know our slot has gone, but can I express my thanks for that decision and request that when the sandbags are replaced, if we could liaise with Sean to make certain that the waste sand from the old bags goes on the uphill side of that bagwork to reduce the flood risk even further.
I can comment on the specifics of whether that works. I would seek Sean's and Marcus's guidance on that.
Can we liaise at the time?
Yeah, I'll speak to Marcus.
If you could just knock on the door whenever you're ready, that would be really, really appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome round for coffee.
You're welcome round for coffee anytime.
Yep. So number 17 is Finance, 2021-22, to receive the back reconciliation report for April 2022. You should vote individually or in block.
you can, the first two will receive, so you can note those, and then C and D are to approve, so you can do those individually.
Right. And can we have a look at the investment report as well, which is on page 85 to note? Thank you. So A and B are to note. Does anyone have any comments on those? Okay, thank you. Number C is to approve the quarterly spend versus budget report for quarter 4, starting on page 87. Is there anything you wish to add, officers?
No, this is quite a detailed document, and in fact, the spend versus budget report was something which the internal auditor brought up at the previous last year's audit, which had been put in place. So this is quite an explanatory document explaining quarter by quarter any variances. And it's quite detailed and self-explanatory, really.
Okay. Is there anything to highlight in particular we should be concerned about, or
there's nothing that you don't know about.
okay?
And this is already included in the full year annual accounts, which you've just approved anyway. So there's nothing extra to note.
Thank you. Okay, so to approve the quarterly spend versus budget report for quarter 4, I need a proposer and a seconder, please. May I have a seconder? And all those in favour, please, to accept it. Anyone against? And any abstentions? Thank you. We now go to approve the accounts for payment for April 2022. So this is, again, you will see a total for the a net of 68,000 for the full year. Is there anything in there you wish to pick out? Any concerning values, or are you quite happy with what you've seen? Any questions, councillors? Okay, so can I have a proposal, please, to accept them?
No.
Thank you. Councillor Cullen, a second. Okay, so all in favour of accepting the April accounts and pay for the transaction? Anyone against? Thank you. Any abstentions? No. So they are accepted. The paid expenditure transaction for April 2022. Thank you very much. So this brings an end to the public section of the meeting. I'm afraid any press and public do now have to leave, I'm afraid, and this is not recorded for YouTube.
Fully understand, Chairman. Signing this evening has been very, very much appreciated. Fully understand the statutory reasons why you're doing what you're doing. All I'm going to say